Welcome. Hello. Welcome to our weekly Zoom series. I am Janice Jakes, the owner and founder of FitnessFest. This is our 29th year, and we are just a few weeks around the corner. So we've been having lots of fun with our weekly Zoom series. We've talked to lots of different presenters and speakers and sponsors, and this day is going to be amazing as well. And we have got Marybeth, April, and Erik, three amazing presenters for Fitness Fest. And they're going to chat a little bit about themselves and what they're going to be doing. And just as always, just casual and fun and get to know what's going on in their lives and in the industry and how they started and all that. So I'm just going to dive right into it. And you know what, Marybeth? I think I will start with you. Marybeth, who I know as Marybeth Murata, we were just talking about Marybeth Dziubinski, has been, we've known each other for decades. I mean, way back when we did that retreat in Sedona, I don't even know how long ago it was, but you've been presenting for Fitness Fest on and off and aquacon for many years. And so welcome, Marybeth. And why don't you tell everybody like how you started and just a little about what you do and a little bit of your background story.
Sure. So thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been I guess, started teaching water aerobics back in 1988, guys. So when Janice says it's been a long time, it's been a long time. Kind of dived into that, literally. Did some work with HydroFit. I was a HydroFit specialist for quite a while. I was an AEA trainer, so did a lot of national work training and working with SCW manias. So I've kind of been around the circuit a little bit. I've always had a love for water exercise. Presently, I'm a active aging director down here in North Carolina, doing a lot of personal training and teaching water and running a gym. But anyways, my love came from swimming. I was a swimmer for many years, and all of a sudden I went from horizontal to vertical, loved it, kind of got certified, loved my certification, and just said I one day want to do it. So long story short, became a trainer. And I look at myself as a lifelong learner. Even though I still present a lot, I love to get fed a lot. So I hope you all will enjoy Fitness Fest because Janice does a great job bringing in all of us to help really keep you learning. And I would say for me personally, finding your niche is something I'd like to say to y'all, finding your specialty. I'm also a registered yoga teacher, created a program called Yoqua, I actually trademarked a program called Yoqua, which is yoga in the water. I kind of dove into the softer side, but I also like the high intensity. So there's something for all of you, is what I would say. But looking for what you like to teach is going to keep you really, I guess, new. Does that make sense? And inventing yourself all the time is key. Finding your niche and also really staying relevant in what the industry trends are. So we're all going to be doing water and other different programming at the conference, trying to get a well-rounded basis for yourself and just keeping yourself open, for a lot of different opportunities, because that's kind of what fell in my plate. I just kept taking steps and steps, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I want to keep moving through it. And now very excited to say, it's probably been over 20 plus, 30 plus years I've been in the industry now presenting education. So really fun to be with you all. I also think staying connected with everybody is really important. Janice and that's I guess an example of that, but making sure you build relationships in the industry because there's opportunity for everybody. So I look forward to seeing you all at Fitness Fest and giving you a go of what I'm going to be teaching is aquatic balance in the pool. I'm going to be talking about music and how it moves you in the pool. And then I'm going to be talking about power in the pool, how to use the
We'll come
pool.
back. Not to, not to
Yeah.
interrupt you, Marybeth, but we'll come back to that, and I'm going to come back to a couple other things
Oh, cool.
um, about your history too. So don't worry,
Good.
we'll come back to what you're teaching and a little bit more about that. So
Okay.
I'm gonna move on to Erik Schreiber, and Erik will be the first time presenting at Fitness Fest for us. And Erik
Yep.
comes to us from Delaware, and I want him to tell us about his studio, a little bit about his studio and then Dr. Dan Ritchie, who many of you
Mm.
probably know, Dan said you've got to meet Erik, and I think it was way last June, Erik, that we
Yeah,
got on
yeah,
a
it
Zoom
was.
together. And we've been talking ever since, and we're excited to have you as the first time. So, Erik, tell us about
Thank
your
you.
your background.
First of all, thank you. I'm very, very excited to be doing this. So I originally got started in the industry in 2005. A little bit different. So I went to Elon University, played football, got a degree in exercise science. Um, and then my first job ever was working with Gold's Gym as a fitness consultant. And then I moved to Bally Total Fitness way back in the day, and was a sales manager there. And a friend of mine recommended to go ahead and get certified through the NASM. I got certified, and this is the only thing I've ever done out of college. I eventually went back to school, got a master's degree in exercise science with a concentration in fitness leadership. I'm now in my PhD program. In 2016, my wife and I opened a training studio called Custom Fit 360. And originally, primarily, all we did was one-on-one training. And for the last decade, we have almost exclusively worked with the 55 plus population. That's actually how I connected with Dan through the Functional Aging Institute. We got our entire team certified through FAI, just because in our area, we live in Bethany Beach, and it's predominantly a retirement community. And I felt that something like that was of huge need. So we've been in business, like I said, since January of 2016. We've got multiple locations. We're now expanding. We're opening two more company-owned stores, and now we're in the process of franchising as well. Um, and then so Janice, you and I got connected because I founded something called the National Strength and Functional Training Academy. So for a long time, I've been a business owner for 10 years. And I noticed that there was a huge gap between online certification and real world application, right? So people can go online, they can get certified, lickety split, and it doesn't matter what governing body it is. And I found that people were coming in and applying for jobs as certified personal trainers, but not really having an understanding as to how to apply the theory that they learned in their courses in the real world. So I started this company that primarily we have a certification course, and it's done in real world settings through cohorts, excuse me, where trainers will come in, and it's a 4 week program where they learn in person how to actually train while simultaneously learning the scientific principles behind what we're doing. Um, so yeah, that's what I
That's
do.
great.
That's
Yeah, I'm going to
Yep.
come back to you about your
Sure.
certification
Okay.
and a couple other things too. Great,
Sure.
Erik. April Ward from, are you in Chandler or are you in
Going
Gilbert?
over
April?
closer to Gilbert, yeah. So I'm pretty
Okay.
local, yeah, which is exciting. I'm excited to meet people from all over at Fitness Fest.
Yeah.
I'm
Now, just before you get started, Whitney, who is on the call and who works admin with us and a bunch of other things, she found you online and says we've got to have April. We've got to have April. So tell us about your history and your background and what you do, and then I'll go back to Marybeth, and then I'll come back to you about your raving fans and all that kind of stuff. Of course, we all have raving fans, but go ahead, April. Tell us your story.
Yeah, I'm April. I specialize in pelvic floor physical therapy. So it didn't start that way, right? Like I always knew I wanted to go into PT, like from a pretty young age. I wanted to go into physical therapy probably since I was like a sophomore in high school. I was a volleyball player growing up, and one of my best friends tore her ACL, and it was like devastating because we were both like co-captains on the team. And anyways, it was pretty cool to see her rehab and get back to, being strong again, being able to play. So I knew I wanted to be a part of physical therapy. So that's what I ended up doing. Obviously, studied kinesiology, all the things, anatomy. graduated. And at first, after I was done with school, I started with normal orthopedic physical therapy, which I liked. Worked with a lot of athletes. I worked with a lot of geriatric patients. Like a lot of shoulder replacements, knee replacements, ACL tears, like all the normal, I guess, physical therapy stuff. But after about a year and a half, I ended up taking continuing education courses, and then I specialized in pelvic floor. Once I specialized, there was no going back because I just loved it. It's been so cool to be able to help all sorts of people. I think a lot of people think pelvic floor is just for like pregnant and postpartum, but really it's for everyone. I've treated patients from like young kids all the way up to like in their 80s. So I've helped people from like all walks of life, but I would say like my most common is probably right in like the 20 to 40 age of, the baby bearing years. So that's kind of like what I do right now. I own a company called Strengthen Her. A lot of it is online. I worked in the clinic for years and I loved it, but once I had my son, once I became a mom, I just didn't feel good about going back to work 12 hours a day, leaving him all the time. I had a pretty vigorous schedule, so I decided to stay home, but still wanted to help people with, pelvic floor and all the things. So I started my own company. And now a lot of what I do is like online programs to help with different issues, whether you're like prepping for birth, whether you're healing your ab separation postpartum, if you're having maybe prolapse issues, if you're having pelvic organ prolapse, or just there's all sorts of pelvic floor issues. So I have different online programs for that. And I also teach some in-person classes here locally in the Arizona area. Not for too much longer because I'm actually pregnant right now and expecting a baby in July.
Right.
Um, so I'm looking for like another month or two, but then I'll just be, about to have a baby. So I'll be kind of taking a break for a little bit, but still continuing all my online stuff. But yeah, it's been great. I've absolutely loved it, and I'm really, really excited to teach people at FitnessFest about pelvic floor because I feel like it's a very like underrated subject that everyone could benefit from.
Yeah, well, it's a popular topic, and I'm going to come back to you and ask a little bit more about that. So I'm hopping here. I'm hopping back to my Mary Beth. Mary Beth, you have sustained success for decades in the industry, in the fitness and wellness industry, and all three of you have on this call actually. But it's hard to do, and if you are, I don't want to say just a group fitness instructor or just a personal trainer, and you want to sustain financial stability and do what you love, and also you have to go, you kind of have to get varied a little bit. Tell me the tips and tricks to what the different changes that have happened in your career, and how have you stayed successful for so long? You know what we didn't mention, how another way we were connected is silver sneakers. So
Yeah.
you can, that
So
was that's
yeah,
part of your career as well. Yeah.
yeah, I was a national trainer with Silver Sneakers for 20 plus years. So I had the opportunity to write a lot of educational programs. So a lot of their formats that are out now that are being taught that I'm still teaching, I had a lot to do with the creation of it with Deborah Redder, who started Silver Sneakers. So going back plus 20 plus years ago, being able to not only I kind of dove into the land side. I started teaching Group X years ago, 1979, guys, my first Group X, 45 years teaching Group X. So I'm telling you, it's been a long time. But then I went into aqua kind of heavy, and then I moved down to North Carolina about 6 years ago, and then I moved into kind of what Erik was saying. I'm in a very kind of affluent, if you will, but a 65 plus market space. So it's wild. The community is so driven. It's perfect. I have all skill levels. So I ended up, I'm a senior fitness specialist. So I got, through NASM and doing my personal training, and also I decided to do a little bit more land. So right now I'm presently doing a little more land than water. So I think just being diverse and being open, like I said, looking for what the trends are and making sure that you're on top of that, right? And kind of, like I said, reinventing yourself all the time. But specialties, again, are really important because I think we all kind of talked, April and Erik, about certain areas or maybe ages or, that kind of market space is really good. And I think when you hone in on what it is you're really good at, you'll succeed at that. So I think it's
Yeah,
important that you
excellent.
keep learning.
Yeah, and you started chatting about and let's go into that now. Aqua balance, and as we know, balance as we get older, and we both, Erik and you in
Yeah.
particular, and of course my format is aqua fitness, active agers, older adults, and balance, of course, is so perfect. And teaching balance in the water, very popular topic. Tell us just a little bit about the aqua balance workshop you'll be teaching on Friday, April 17th.
Yeah, so what I've experienced, I just finished up a Fall Proof Your Life course, an 8-week course where I get people together and it's all a fall prevention program. What I love about the aqua environment to teach balance in the water is it's going to transfer to land, right? So lots of times you'll get people in the pool and they'll be able to do a single leg stance for a lot longer because they're supported, right? And they have more confidence. So it's a perfect place to get people in the pool. I've worked with people who have had strokes and take their first walks again in the pool. It's fabulous. So balance to me has always been one of the biggest things we can offer because we want everyone safe on their feet. We know the costs, healthcare costs of a fall. So aquatic balance is something that has really it's easy for me to talk about, but I think it's genuinely something, like I said, I liked what Erik said, you learn it, but you learn how to apply it, right? It has to be something that you can do. And so you feel it and then you can use it. So that's my goal is to help everyone learn some good balance techniques in the pool and hopefully it will transfer to land as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely, yes, because we want to avoid those falls. And music and choreography at its best is another one of your workshops. And of course, music with Aqua or any group fitness classes is so important. So I think everybody is looking forward to that as well. Anything else you want to add about that workshop, or we want to save all the secrets till Saturday, April 18th at Fitness Fest?
I just think I think music is motivating, and there is a
Yes.
tempo change. There's a tempo change from land to water. So if you're a land instructor, you can't necessarily teach aqua. You got to learn the difference. So
Right.
I'll be talking a little bit about how that differs. And then power to the pool is a lot about interval training and how to use the pool as what I call a liquid weight room. That's what I call the pool, a liquid weight room. So we're going to
Yeah,
talk about how to use power in the pool.
I love it. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you again at Fitness
Thank you.
Fest, April 17th through 19th. Actually, 16th, we're having a group, AAAI group fitness certification, and we're having my aqua certification, and we're having Donna Lewin's, and of course, Marybeth, Donna, of course. She
Who's
goes,
teaching AAAI certification? Just curious.
Rebecca.
Okay.
What's Lisa? What's Rebecca's last name? Rebecca's with she's actually a Pilates instructor,
Okay.
but she's been with AAAI. I can't think of her last name.
It's
That's okay.
Rebecca West Hensinger.
That's
Yeah,
why
she's
she's
probably
got two
new
names.
since I've been around AAAI. I just wondered who it was. That's fine. Sorry.
Yeah, and of course you know that Dylan Hardy is our keynote speaker, so you'll get to everybody will get to see him on Saturday for the keynote lunch. So thanks, Mary Beth. And Erik, you've got a unique, let's say, concept or philosophy or way of doing things, and also your certification. What makes you different and stand out? Or better, let's just say that.
Well,
You don't
so
have to be cocky. I'll be cocky for you. Okay.
so going back to what Mary Beth has said and talking about being a specialist, right? So I say this a lot. I specialize in being a generalist, meaning like there's the system that we use, there's not a single solitary human being on earth that can enter our studio and we cannot help at a high level, right? So whether it's an active ager, somebody who's recovering from a shoulder injury or a knee replacement, somebody with MS, people who are recovering from strokes, or high level athletes. Um, it does not matter who comes through the door. How we teach our trainers, we can serve them at a high level. So that's the integrated six pillars. It's a system that we use that utilizes core components of health, as well as integrated training principles. Um, the the IPCT, or the integrated power curve training. So I see a lot of fitness professionals who they just kind of like throw exercises together without having a real understanding of what they're doing. Right. So we teach trainers how to apply the force velocity curve in a systematic way that makes sense, while still applying it to the individuals or group of individuals who's in front of us. So I think what makes my system better is that it doesn't matter who is in front of you. You can train them at a high level that will help them meet their goals. And I keep things
That's an
very, very simplistic.
That's
There's
just an
nothing, there's
amazing
nothing
thing to
crazy
say
about it.
that you can do that. And obviously you and your trainers, because you're not the only one who trains there, have gone through quite a unique and quite an intensive training,
Yeah,
which kind of leads up to you have an online certification. We're looking to have your in-person certification.
yeah.
We were supposed to have one in Scottsdale, and I don't know if that's panning out. But if anybody on the recording or the call would like their trainers to go through something like this and want to host it, we would love to have Erik's certification program at your studio, because it's just, we're kind of preaching to the choir, especially people on this on our panel and on the call. It's like we all, you guys, Marybeth and April and Erik, and have a unique, lots of training, and have gone through different degrees and certifications and trainings to be able to specialize and help people
Yeah,
specifically, whereas it's not a one size fits all, and so
no.
many of these gyms just like the trainers treat everybody, and the instructors too,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. It's
not
cookie cutter.
all, but treat everybody the same and don't have those skills. And this is one of the reasons why they're not successful. We're not helping people, and they're not helping themselves and able to stay in their career very long, because there's no success rate or purpose for the trainer or for the client. So we're looking
That's
forward
a great
to
point.
yeah, Erik, you're doing integrated power curve training, applying force velocity curve to real world programming on Saturday,
Yep.
April 18th at FitnessFest. And then six pillars, like you were mentioning, a framework for performance, function, and longevity. So you'll be doing those very, very awesome workshops at FitnessFest. So we're looking forward
It's
to
gonna be a lot
seeing
of
you.
fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of learning. Great. All right, April, my question for you, what I'd like to chat with you about is, but pelvic floor is a very, it's weird to say it's a hot topic, but it's why is it so important? The work that you do, and pelvic floor and core is the name of your workshop, but the work that you do, why is it so important and why is it so popular?
Ooh, where do I even start? Because I feel like it's a hotter topic now because people actually know it's a thing. And I think people are actually having the hope that they can get the help that they need. I just think of like maybe older generations may not have had the tools. Like my mom, for example, she had multiple kids and she didn't have the tools. She thought peeing her pants when she jumped on the tramp was normal. And she thought, back pain ever since she had kids was normal, and like just so many other issues. I just think for a long
And people
time.
probably didn't even want to say the word pelvic, right?
Yes, exactly. It was definitely, I think it's like the only reason it's a hotter topic is it's been taboo for so long. But now people are finally like, no, this is like a real thing. It affects your urinary function, your bowel function, your sexual function. And when you think of those three things, those play a role in your everyday life, you know? So I wouldn't, there's so many reasons why it's important. Obviously, urinary function plays a huge role. No one wants to pee their pants. No one wants to have issues with their bladder, right? But also bowel function, like being constipated is not fun, but sometimes that can be a pelvic floor issue. Or sexual function, if someone's having pain with sex, or if they're having difficulty orgasming, or really all the above, all those things are things that can be affected by a pelvic floor. And I think for so long, people thought that like their symptoms were normal because like, oh, I had a baby, like this is normal, you know, or it was just so taboo that they never wanted to bring it up because what I do see is even when women haven't had kids, they can still struggle with this kind of stuff. It does not mean that you have to have kids to have pelvic floor issues. It can be all walks of life. And so I think why it's so important is because it affects you on such like a physical level, but also mentally and emotionally. If it's like interfering with, you know, urinary, bowel, or sexual function, that's going to affect you mentally and emotionally. And I think that's why it's so important.
Yeah, it would affect your life. So your daily life. And like you said, you go around, it's normal, but there's things that can be done. And like you have online courses. I'm so glad we get to meet you in person and you get to do the workshop in person. I think everyone on the panel, will agree that the connection and the hands-on that we're going to have live in person just can't be beat. I mean, it's great. We've got to have some online stuff, but what you're going to be doing in pelvic floor and core on Sunday, April 19th, you're going to have a lecture portion, and then you guys are I think you're going to get on the floor and you're going to really go through some explanation and some exercises that will strengthen the core and strength. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and strengthen the pelvic floor. If there's anything else you want to say about your workshop without giving too much away, go for it.
Yes, I just want to say pelvic floor. I think sometimes people think pelvic floor is about doing a million Kegels a day. It's not. It honestly barely has anything to do with that. It's so much more. It's so much about your diaphragm, your rib cage mobility, your transverse abdominis. Like there's so many other components rather than just your pelvic floor. Like honestly, your breath is just as involved. And obviously I'll go into detail with that. But yeah, basically my goal is just to teach everyone a little bit about like the anatomy and the physiology of it, of how things work in the body, how they're supposed to work. Sometimes we have bad habits that prohibit that, but we're going to go over how your body works together, you know, all the things, your rib cage, your diaphragm, your transverse abdominis, your pelvic floor, how they all work together. I'll explain all that. Then my plan is just to get everyone to practice a lot of it, practice breathing exercises so that they can get a feel for it. Because really what I want is that all these trainers go home feeling a little bit more hopeful about like how they can help, you know, those people out there that are struggling. Like maybe it's an older population with urinary issues, or maybe it's a postpartum mom that wants to get back in shape, but they don't really know how to help them. I would just hope that after they come to my workshop that they feel a little bit more confident going into it and understand how to properly help them.
I love it. Thank you, April. Looking forward to seeing you.
Janice, can I ask Eric a question? Eric,
Yeah.
your certification,
Yeah.
is it for personal trainers or would a Group X certification? You know, we're looking at hybrids.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest thing now is being a hybrid, right? Being able to teach Group X and personal training. So it would be advantageous for, I'm just curious about your
So our business, we do one-on-one and small group. So the same system that we use in one-on-one is the same system that we use in small group, right?
Okay.
Because it's based on movement patterns and components of health, and so yeah, and it's approved through NASM and ISSA.
Okay, great. So great. Okay. Just curious about who you feed in. It's mostly personal trainers taking that, but I think it'd be a great draw for Group X who are looking to become hybrids, you know, because
Oh
we're
my
more
gosh,
valuable. People are so much more valuable to a gym if they're a hybrid, you know, meaning teaching both. So I just wondered with that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're
I wanted to be
valuable
able
to
to
me if
talk
you can
about it.
teach both, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the small group training is certainly very popular. or can be if you've got the right trainer to do it or the right
Right.
instructor to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question to ask Eric, Marybeth. I wasn't sure all about that either. And, you guys can definitely, talk more at the event. Or if you wanted Eric to send you any information about his training too. So that's good. We're looking forward to all that. And does anyone who's on the call does anybody have any questions? Nobody wants to ask about poop and urine. Okay, dokie. Hey,
Which
yeah,
is great.
and
I just want to thank you for, you always bring together a great group of people. So, like being a learner, I just love listening to both Eric and April and finding out what everybody else is doing. So, thank you for
yeah,
that because it
we
gives us all a
you bet.
chance to
Thank you.
tap into all that too. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the differences. I mean, the three of you all have great backgrounds, great education, and different niches, but all very all very different. But and bringing it, and I have to agree, I do bring great people together. And this 29th year at Fitness Fest, still time to sign up, fitnessfest.org. We have a handful of workshops that are sold out, I have to tell you. So I don't know what everybody's waiting for. Hurry up and sign up. But you'll get to see Eric, you'll get to see Marybeth, you'll get to see April, and about 40 or 50 other different presenters, all different formats, all different styles. Just a lot of fun, a lot of energy. And like Marybeth, like you were saying, the connection, the in-person connection. Next week, on March 27th, our Zoom series is going to feature, we're going to talk about the roundtable. The roundtable is a standalone session where we have 12 tables, 12 different speakers, 12 different topics, and all the attendees get to pick only 5. There's nothing else opposing it. So it's forced family fun. It's sponsored by NASM. Katie Espinoza is going to be our highlighted Zoom speaker next week. She's been with NASM for 8 years. I just had a great chat with her for almost an hour yesterday because we didn't know each other. So we wanted to get to know each other so I could help her, we could tell her story next week. We'll talk a little bit about the NASM AFA merger thing, and I know it happened a long time ago, but not everybody really understands what's going on. So, but mostly we'll talk about her, get to know Katie, get to know about the roundtable. We'll tell everybody what the topics are. So I hope everybody can tune in next week. Anything from April, Marybeth, or Eric, or anybody else before we say goodbye and get on with our wonderful weekend? Here it is in Phoenix, Arizona, 100 degrees. Woo!
I was just going to say to Marybeth, you can use this framework in the pool.
Okay.
100%.
I believe that. I would have to, yeah. All right. That's very cool. That's why I
Yes.
like to see the crossover. So we'll talk a little bit about that. That's
I'm
great.
going to have to bring my bathing suit too to come to your.
All right, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janice.
You're going to have to take Marybeth's workshop.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Eric,
Janice.
Thanks
everybody
again.
else, and we'll see you so soon. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was cool. Cool.